Hello everybody, and Jess here, and welcome back to RWBY Ice Queendom, Hyousetsu, Teikoku, call it what you will. In the previous episode, we finally, I mean, it was foreshadowed a little bit. We didn't really get the whole process, it wasn't shown, but the end result of everything that was and wasn't shown is that RWBY is now inside of Weiss's dream caused by the nightmare grim seed thingamajig. Some people corrected me, corrected my thinking, and pointed out that it does make sense to send RWBY first, because alone she has better chances at infiltrating the dream. And as soon as she finds the Grim inside of the dream, she can call for backup. That's their plan, essentially. Makes sense. I'm gonna admit it does actually make sense. So that's one of the things that I wasn't a huge fan of in the previous episode. Kind of scratched out because it does make sense again. What else happened? Not really an awful lot. The whole episode was essentially RWBY just walking around Weiss's mind, meeting all the not all of the seven battlers, but some of the seven battlers who are, as I heard, shards of shards, like different sides, different facets, whatever the accent on that is, different facets of the butler who Weiss likes, who is Weiss's, maybe not guardian, but like a personal aide. The bat, meanwhile, is supposed to be Weiss's brother, if I'm not mistaken. What else? Apparently, two different versions of Weiss appeared in that episode. If so, then I didn't notice, so I can't speak to how true or how untrue that is, because I genuinely have no clue if there were multiple versions of Weiss there. I don't know. So RWBY was just bumbling around this world, getting into trouble, getting out of trouble, using the coins, which is, again, a very cool idea. I really do enjoy the mechanics, the mechanical aspects of the magic system and the weapons and all that stuff. I'm still in absolute awe that RWBY's weapon works differently than usual, because Weiss has no idea how does RWBY's weapon work. I love it. It's an amazing idea. And now RWBY got enough of an attention from Weiss to warrant a one-on-one fight, and now RWBY is in a little bit of a pickle because she's not quite as strong as Weiss is in that dream, so she will probably need backup. Will she be able to call for backup? Is something gonna happen that will make her not call for backup? What's gonna happen? I don't know. Any number of things can happen. So we're gonna have to watch it and see for ourselves. But before we do watch it, a little bit of housekeeping, just the tiniest bit. I released a video talking about the results of the seasonal poll, non-seasonal poll, I guess, which show is gonna be replacing RWBY Starlight, so you might want to check that out on the channel. And with all that being said, all that out of the way, I can give you your subs, reset the timer because it starts every time, because why not? Give myself my sound so that I can hear, and give yourselves also a reminder of support. You can support the channel on Patreon Throne or by sharing my content. It really does help a lot if you spread the word. And now, finally, with all of that out of the way, we can start watching RWBY, Hyousetsu no Teikoku, Ice Queendom, episode, let me make double sure, episode 5, version by subs, please, as usual, in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, straight into the OP. Interesting. I don't really have much to say here. It's just the OP, the same as it always was. Unchanged, unmodified, unedited. Just little scenes and vignettes from the first 3 episodes. Except with a monochrome filter. What can I talk about here? I guess I'm still wondering if the whole season is gonna be inside of Weiss's mind. Seeing the title of Ice Queendom, it would point towards that, but I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Breathing heavily because she's fighting. Is nobody here? Okay, what you doing there? Wake up. Emergency wake up. Gotcha. Wake the fuck up, samurai, we have a city to burn. I guess it is all gonna be about Weiss's dream. And yeah, the thorns of doubts, the thorns of unfulfilled ambitions, not even her ambitions, the ambitions of her father. Yeah, you are about to die. Yep, certainly seems that way. Makes sense. The big bad is always inside of the big bad tower in the middle of a big bad city. Yeah. I mean, she's not wrong. I mean, the nightmare had to have found some purchase in reality. True. Negative vice, okay. I mean, she's not wrong, yet again. She's not wrong. Because it's her dream, it's her world. Yeah. Yep. How do we fight her then? Or do we just not and we focus on just finding the Grim? Are we gonna be sending someone else every time? Is that what we're going for here? Okay, are we sending Blake now? Or we're going all of us? Let's throw away the pretense that we're sending only a single person because otherwise they get easily spotted, and let's just send all of them in. Why not? Yeah, not really well. Also, I love how the magical threads create like a VR headset on her head. No, Jean was weak, and you guys are also very tightly knit. Weiss, meanwhile, is strong, and she has some much deeper seated issues, it seems. And Team RWBY isn't as tightly knit either. So it's gonna be a little bit more difficult. I wonder if those rag dolls, or I guess like string dolls, are available somewhere as plushies or keychains or something. Probably. A whole incantation. Okay, I guess all of them are in. Sure. Gonna make the fighting easier, I guess. Maybe. Ah, cables. Blake? It would seem so. That's how Weiss sees her. Yeah. Well, you better not mess up then. That was a very far throw. And she is close now. That's cool. I guess Weiss's preconceptions about their weapons are very varied. For each, the weird, like, waypoint kind of thing. And the train again. White Fang. White Fang. Okay, so it's a repeat of what happened the first time. Okay, so the doors seem to persist. Scrolls? That's another piece of technology, magi technology, that they have access to, apparently. I'm guessing it's a means of communicating within the dream without the need to use the coins. Yep, and it's all about him. He is, very much so. The laughing nobles represent, and yeah, of course, no Faunus, but girl in the black garments. Okay, so it's like word for word a repeat of uh, of the first time that Ruby made it into the dream. Well, more or less. More thorns. And what would that be? A coffin? A crystal coffin with something inside. Shadow people walking inside of fountains. Hmm. And who might you be? Red hair, singing. One of the sillies, apparently, because she's in the jail. Oh, it's Pyrrha. Okay, that caught me a little by surprise. So I guess Weiss sees Pyrrha still as a silly, but not completely brain dead. I guess makes sense. From the very beginning, Weiss was trying to join Pyrrha's team. Also, important thing to mention, very good English. It's probably the English VA for Pyrrha singing it. Or just they hired an English VA just to sing this song. Or the Japanese VA is really fucking good at English. Okay, that was weird. I gotta say, that was fairly out of place. Not unwelcome, it was a cool song, but she's just not gonna mention it, apparently. Oh. Blake can be a decoy. Huh? She has, like, instant transmission or something? Mirror, mirror, okay, the song about a mirror, and they made it through a mirror. I guess, okay, so they were able to use that mirror passage to get behind one of the walls, I'm assuming? Yeah, I'd like to see you try. Something tells me it ain't gonna be that easy. Not even with the three of them. The crystal coffin. Yeah, a crystal coffin with the white course inside. One of the things that they got during their initial trials. Yeah, completely and utterly overbearing. And I guess Blake's ears are kinda at the back of her head. Which kinda explains why she wears the bow on the back of her head as well. It's a manhunt. Okay, that's interesting. Blake is with the White Fang. No. Or that. I mean, it is a plan. They can get closer to Weiss this way. Another instance of the door. Or is it a different one? I think it's a different one. Sleepy Klein. Okay. No, not particularly. Hmm. Yeah, it hardly looks like a prison. Okay. So I guess, yeah, she really did always want one. She was true when she said that. It is a relic, except this one's red and yours is white. And she just went to sleep. Sure. I mean, I guess what else is she gonna do? She's just waiting here, so. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah. Using another coin. Oh, I guess Blake just randomly found her way in. Sure, I thought it's supposed to be a prison, but I guess either Blake is really good at sneaking or there aren't really that many guards here. That was easy. Makes sense going deeper and deeper inside of her mind. What makes you think that? I guess? Rows and rows of chairs. I like this area. It really has an ominous feeling to it. It probably just continues endlessly, and you have to find some way through it. And the thorns are everywhere now. Okay, I guess Weiss is gonna find them. A goat? Sure. Okay, that's the episode. Hmm. I'm not sure what to say about it, to be perfectly honest with you. Because, all in all, uh, I wanted to say that not many particularly consequential things have happened, but that's not true. The three of them made it into Vice's mind. That's important. They found the relic. That's important. They got closer to the center of the city, closer than before. That's important. But besides that, I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure. Feels like they're kinda stretching things out just a little. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm genuinely not sure what to think of it. Chapter 6, do you have a plan? Probably not. They're probably gonna wing it, let's be honest here. That's a nice illustration. Very detailed hair. Okay, maybe if we go through this episode again, that's gonna help me form a better, stronger opinion on this episode. So, how about we go through it again? Shall we? Right, OP, 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 OP. RWBY is forcefully woke up, which is interesting, because I thought that she has to like find her way out of the dream, right? She has to spend a coin to get out, but it seems like she can be remotely ripped out of the dream. Does it spend a coin? That's the question. From what they've been saying, it probably does require a coin. I don't know, it probably does. Again, I really, really love the marriage of magic and technology here. Just magic strings and colors and lights and the keyboard that works just like that without anybody's input. Keys that make absolutely no sense but probably do in some thaumaturgical way or something. The screen, just an old monochrome CRT screen. I really, really do love it. That's a weird placement of a control. GRPH. Keys have, I think... Yeah, there are Latin characters on them. On the front-facing sides, not on the top. The top sides have just weird symbols, including card symbols, for some reason. Uh, Yeah, sure, why not? I don't particularly care much about the feasibility of it. In this case, I only care about the coolness factor, and the coolness factor is high, so I approve. She made it out safely, awaken in a dream. Mobilize soldiers and search for Ruby. I guess it wasn't a goat, it was the dog, and we've seen it. We've seen it before when it brought Weiss some sort of a book. And of course, that's the core issue that Weiss has, essentially. If you truly are suited to be a daughter of the Schnee clan, yada 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 yada, you must prove to be worthy, yada 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 yada. And it really has a really negative and really strong effect on her. That's what helps the vines grow. The ever-present, overbearing presence of her father, to the point where even in her own dream she's not the center stage. Her father is the center of her own mind, which is just crazy if you think about it. Are we all the way awake? First reconnaissance mission. Yeah, walls, structure, fortress. You must make it to the tower. And yeah, what we heard before, that the nightmare is trying to make you believe that. The nightmare is trying to show you the worst scenarios. It tries to dissuade you and all those sorts of things. It's the nightmare exploiting her mind. We should differentiate her. Nega Weiss. Sure. Why not? Shadow Weiss, Nega Weiss, call her what you will. Makes sense, I guess. And yeah, she will become as strong as her mind allows her to be. That's the issue. She is exactly as strong as she thinks she is strong, because everything happens inside of her mind. Right? That's the issue. That's the problem. Is the thing behind her head, the red one, a photo with a filter on it? I can't tell. Doesn't matter. Or maybe a CG model. The keyboard is for sure a CG model. Yeah. Please decide who will enter the dream. If there are too many of us, they'll spot us right away, and in the end, they decide to go all three of them. Despite the fact that I just came to terms with the fact that it might actually be better if only one of them goes inside. They just decided spontaneously that all three of them are going. Cool. Yeah. We're not coming in second after Team JNPR. Well, you kinda already are, because they managed to save Jean in a single try, and you need at least two, so Jean's case wasn't that serious. I mean, kinda. It wasn't that serious because, first of all, it was spotted earlier. Second of all, again, he's weaker, his aura is weaker than Weiss's, and again, I think that the fact Team JNPR seems much more tightly knit also plays a role here. And of course, Jean, ever the White Knight, I wish I could get possessed instead and take her place. What's Pyrrha feeling here, though? She's feeling something, she's thinking something. What is that something, though? I don't know, honestly. I don't know. And yeah, all of them are going in because, sure, why not? I guess that way we can get over it with it faster instead of scouting one person at a time, scouting, scouting, scouting. Just throw all of them and brute force their way to solution. Maybe it's gonna work, maybe it won't. It probably will. They're the protagonists. And they're inside the dream. With changes, Blake apparently has a single cat ear sticking out. Could it symbolize like Weiss coming to terms with the fact that Weiss is a Faunus, but not seeing her completely as a Faunus. Kind of like she sees her, Weiss sees Blake as half Blake the teammate and half Blake the Faunus. I think that might be it. Yang has a motorcycle because, of course, that would be the defining characteristic that Weiss notices in her. Because, I mean, it kind of is her defining characteristic to a degree. And yeah, Ruby's weapon is still fucked up. Meanwhile, Blake's weapon is got so much better. She can throw it so much further. Yang's weapon apparently is also so much stronger. Interesting, I guess. I guess it is actually only Ruby that Weiss has maybe not a negative opinion of, but she kind of sees her as a goofball not worthy of, like, busying her own mind with, not worthy of remembering how her weapon works and stuff like that. She's just that annoying teammate, essentially, to Weiss. I have a feeling that might be it. Also, as I mentioned during the show itself, during the reaction segment, I love how Blake's hands are paws. I really do like it. I really do love me a character that has like big, meaty paws, or gauntlets, or claws, or stuff like that. I really do enjoy this archetype. The whatchamacallit? I call it the way spot or waypoint, but it's not that. It's like the sign that points you in the directions of like nearby cities and stuff. I forgot the word for it, but there is a specific word for it. The train, the Faunus are attacking, seems to be a repeat of what happened when Ruby visited. I guess it is a reoccurring thing, and that's simply it. The door. Initially, I thought this is the door that was left here from Ruby's previous expedition. But apparently the photo of the map disappeared, so the doors, the way spots, the markers or whatever they call them would also disappear, so probably they just spent a coin here? I'm not sure. Their phones work, so that's great. But here they can open the door and they go out of some other door inside of the city. Or is it that they can use the door to teleport wherever? No, because if that was the case, they would have teleported into like the inner ring of the city. I was all the time under the impression that two doors can be linked together, or rather, from any singular door, you can travel to any other door you placed in the world. If there's only one door placed, you don't really have anywhere to travel. So it's essentially useless, but they somehow use this door to travel inside of the city? So were those doors erased when the previous dream ended, or were they not erased? The map was erased, the door weren't? I don't know. Something's fishy here. Head of the Schnee Dust Company, yeah. Again, with the disembodied hands, the brush, the book, and we're going through the motions again. The White Fang infesting the valley. Thankfully, there are no Faunus in the Empire, but the girl in the black garments, yada yada yada. Ruby and Yang have gone outside without permission. That was kind of confusing to me initially, but I guess it makes sense now that we know that inside of Weiss's dream originally they were placed inside of that room and locked behind the door. So it makes sense that she would look at it, and everybody here would look at it as them running away, making their way out of their house arrest, not getting in from the outside. Prayer, crystal coffin. With an apple. First thing that immediately comes to mind is Snow White. Weiss, white, color, matches. Poison apple, crystal coffin that the Snow White was laid to rest in. Seven butlers, 7 dwarves. How did I not make the connection before? Sleepy, Grumpy, those are motherfucking 7 dwarves from the Snow White and the 7 dwarves. How did I not make the connection? Of course, everybody is based on some fable, right? Little Red Riding Hood, Goldilocks. Blake is based on, I don't know, probably someone else. Vice is based on not Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, right? Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. Okay, and there is the horse. There's the relic inside, encased inside of the crystal coffin. Blake is really, honestly, the only competent one here. It makes sense. I mean, she's former militia. She's former, like, terrorist group. It makes sense that she would be the most competent of them all. So I'm not, like, holding it against anybody here. I'm just stating facts. Big Nicholas. And cool song. Not gonna lie. She's a singer who likes to sing. Yeah, makes sense. She sings for the city. Why is she a silly, though? Tell me, can a heart be turned to stone? Mirror, mirror, what's behind you? Yeah, a mirror image of Weiss. What are the 3 of them doing here? I don't know. What I do know is that it's interesting that the first time we saw them in the silly cage, they were essentially just brain dead, meowing like cats and acting like animals. And here they're just standing here. Jean even waved to Ruby. Pyrrha is a singer, but still a silly. That's interesting. I thought that Weiss holds Pyrrha in a bit of a higher regard. That she wouldn't be a silly, because Weiss did look up to Pyrrha in some way, shape, or form, right? She wanted to be on her team because she saw Pyrrha as the only one worthy of that, so to speak. So what's she doing in the silly cage? I don't know, probably Weiss threw her there with the rest of the Team JNPR. Maybe she lost a little bit of good opinion on her because she's part of JNPR team. I don't know. Why is she a singer? I've genuinely no clue. I genuinely have no clue. It's not like Pyrrha sung so far in the show, has she? Like, I'd understand Weiss seeing her as a singer if it was one of Pyrrha's gimmicks, that when she's doing something, she's humming, for example. Or Weiss witnesses Pyrrha, I don't know, sitting in a park singing to herself, or, something like that. But first of all, we weren't really giving any time to spend with those teams to build relations between them. We're just thrust into this straight from the get-go. The pacing, it seems like it was just yesterday that they enrolled into the academy. It probably was longer, but the pacing was so fast, especially in episode 3, that it really feels yesterday. So we never had the time to establish singing as one of Pyrrha's gimmicks. And if singing isn't Pyrrha's gimmick, why does Weiss see her as a songstress? I don't know. Could be something that we weren't shown yet. Could be something that was explained in the original show but simply didn't make the cut to this version. Or could be something that they threw here completely out of the ass, and they wanted to have a song about Weiss How can we have a song about Weiss? Make Pyrrha sing it. And that's how they did it. Initially, when we saw just the red hair appearing, yeah, here initially, red hair, we don't know who it is. For a moment, I thought it might be Ruby's mother, but Ruby's mother is dead. I thought maybe some incarnation of Ruby's mother, maybe Weiss knew Ruby's mother or something, but no, it's Pyrrha. Who's the loneliest of all? Weiss, apparently. Uh, Ultimately, though, this whole song number didn't really make much difference. It was fairly inconsequential. Kind of a kind of kind of a filler. Maybe it's gonna prove to be actually significant later. Sure, I guess it gives a little bit of characterization to Weiss, right? She's the loneliest of all, mirror, mirror on the wall, all that jazz, right? But it's not necessarily something that we didn't know before, that we didn't suspect. I mean, Weiss very clearly is lonely. It goes without saying, let alone without singing. That's the entrance? Apparently so. And apparently they don't need decoys because Blake can just vanish. That's just something she can do apparently, which is cool, not gonna lie, but not particularly explained. It's not like she has a semblance or anything, and we weren't really shown that magic can do particularly much. Magic in this show so far is very very grounded, right? If you want to use magic, you need to have some magical device, or you need an incantation, or you need a staff, or something like that. Generally, you can't just wave your hand, say abracadabra, and cast a spell. So Blake just disappearing there, or did she use a coin? I don't know. Is it magic? Is it her skill? Is it ninjutsu? I don't know. I guess that's just something she can do, and we should just take it at face value. Another door. Beautiful resting place to bring about true sleep. Only daughters worthy of the Schnee name can enter within. What's the significance of the coffin? Besides the fact that crystal coffin, poison apple, and the thing, it's not a rook, it's the horse within it, the relic. I don't know. What's the deal with only true daughters of the Schnee family can enter it? It's a beautiful resting place to bring about true sleep. I don't know, again. Like, sure, we're continuing the theme of being worthy or unworthy, right? Being worthy of entering the coffin. But why would you want to enter the coffin, though? That much is unclear. And of course, I'll carry out my duty, yada yada yada. And they apparently ran away from the tower. That's where we learned that. And Blake probably didn't exist. It's her cat ears are placed very weirdly, but I guess it makes sense. The placement of her bow makes sense. And I guess it also makes sense because it's Weiss's dream, so she. Although. Blake's ears. Like, this could be explained by Weiss seeing that Blake has her bow in the back of her head, and thus thinking that her ears are on the back of her head. But we've seen Blake without the bow, and she had ears in the middle of her head, like a normal cat girl would. I'm just gonna leave it here because it's not making any more sense than it did before. So I'm just gonna leave it. I'm worried that Vice's mind might treat me as an intruder. It might treat you as a Faunus, and the whole system here seems to be very much rigged against Faunus, and especially against White Fang, so probably not the best idea to reveal yourself. That's a plan. Surrender to get closer, to get inside, to get into the jail that is inside of the place that Vice resides in. Much easier than trying to sneak in, for sure. But now they will have to try to sneak out, which proves to be very easy. Grumpy Klein, Sleepy Klein. Yeah, Grumpy Dwarf, Sleepy Dwarf. Makes sense. It's not a jail cell, though. That's also interesting. It's a room. It's a good and proper, very pretty, very beautiful, fully furnished room with books, with like the I don't know what the name for it is, but it has a specific name for it. With some pendants, some gloves for some reason. The bunk bed, which seems like she genuinely did want one. And the red relic, red horse. Why is it red? Because it's associated with RWBY? Maybe? That's my bet. Why is it here? Why are there two of them? That much I do not know. I love this though. I really do love this. She's just waiting. So what's she gonna do? She's spun herself a hammock and she's just sleeping in it. With her face covered with a hat. Just waiting. I love it. If the rest of the episode wasn't the greatest, even this scene alone would more than make up for it, honestly. Also, I just noticed that her heels are kind of like twisty, twirly things. Ah, yes, the old phone, rotary phone. I remember my grandma had one, like way back when. Still, it was cool. More as a toy than as something that you'd use, but it was cool as a toy. Manifestation of Vice's will to resist the nightmare. That's important. That's important. Could it be why the other relic is locked inside of a coffin? I don't know. Maybe that feels a little bit of a stretch. Uh, but that relic is inside of the coffin. And you can get inside of the coffin only if you're worthy of being the daughter of a Schnee family. So could it be that Weiss sees herself unworthy of being a part of the RWBY team? No, not really. That doesn't check out. If anything, it's the opposite. She doesn't see the others as worthy of being on the same team as her. So, if it was any other character, I could clearly see that being the explanation that she sees the relic as something that she can only truly reach once she becomes worthy of it. But it doesn't make sense in case of Vice, unless it's some like really deeply seated thing that she really does want to be worthy of being a part of the RWBY team, and she doesn't feel like she is worthy, and she's just putting a very tsunderish front. I don't think so, but it is a possibility, I guess. And Blake just made her way in casually. Making it past the door, it's one thing, but all the guards, I guess there aren't any. I don't know, kind of weird, kind of odd. But sure, whatever. One of them should stay behind. Makes sense. The door in case they need to escape. Again, makes sense. Door that goes underground. Another thing that very much makes sense. The deeper they go, the deeper they delve into the mind of Weiss. What's the significance of this scene, though? I don't know. Those are like very fancy chairs, but I wouldn't necessarily call them like thrones. It's not a like a church aisle with the middle empty and only rows and rows of chairs on both sides of it. It's not a throne room with a throne at the very end, so it doesn't like symbolize Vice's desire to be the best, to be the proper like next in line to inherit the company or anything like that. This is a very weird arrangement, and I'm really finding it hard to find any sort of significance to it, except the fact that it's very much endless looking, probably looping as well, and overgrown with the thorns. That's probably the most important part here. That the thorns of the nightmare are so deep inside of Weiss. And here comes she. No matter how many times I expel you, you keep reappearing. I already told you. In this place, there's no room for Faunus. Apparently. Cool art. Episode over. There we go. That was episode 5. That was episode 5 of RWBY Ice Queendom. Nothing particularly much to write home about, but it wasn't necessarily bad. Just very feels kind of transitional, so to speak. Right, they established some things in the previous episode. They established some new things in this episode, and it also serves as kind of a transition to the boss battle, kind of sort of deal. Maybe, I don't know. We still have like in the next episode, assuming they're gonna fight Weiss, that will still leave us 6 more episodes. Are we gonna spend all of them inside of Weiss's mind? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'd rather we didn't, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, I'd really rather we didn't. And I'm gonna tell you why. There's many reasons why I'd rather we didn't spend the whole season inside of Weiss's mind. One of them being that we didn't really spend much time establishing the characters and their relationships. Now, to a degree, that's the very point, right? That's people who aren't particularly close to Weiss have to help her, have to save her. That's a plot point, makes sense. But it's still like some more moments between our characters, and we aren't really having them here in the dream. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason is that I kind of want some adventure. Adventure in like real world. This world seems so vast and so cool, so imaginative, all sorts of weapons, all the world building that is being hinted at and given to us in like crumbs. Penny, or whatever the doll's name was, the other Faunus dude, the whole thing opened so much in just that one single episode, and it really felt like episode 3 was that opening, right? That they're gonna go to school, they're gonna enroll, there's gonna be some shenanigans at school, then they're gonna go for some training camp, and there's gonna be shenanigans there, and you know, that kind of classic stuff of going for some adventures and exploring the world. But we are just enclosed inside of Vice's mind. And it would mean that essentially a better part of the season is just elaborate character development for Weiss. Because that's what this whole dream situation is here. It's just elaborate character development. We aren't progressing a main story, main plot point of Ruby wanting to become a huntress. We're not really progressing other characters, like character building. We're not really progressing anybody's relationships because it's all in a dream, and Weiss is probably not even aware of what's going on. So once she's broken out of that dream, we're essentially back to episode 3. Kind of feels like a loss. Kind of does feel like it, doesn't it? Like they could have done some more things with it, and yet they chose not to. That's why I hope we're not gonna be spending the entire season um, inside of Weiss's mind. It might have worked if it was like a two-core season, sure. If it was one of the like long form anime that keep getting new episodes, new episodes, new episodes without like separation into seasons, like I don't know, One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, and so on, right? That would have been better, but we have only so many episodes to use. And there are so many things that I would want them to use those episodes on. Dream sequence and character development for a single person, fairly low on that list. Still, even that dream is. I don't mind it that much for what it is, right? If we are to have a dream sequence and an adventure inside of a dream, it might as well be done well, and it is for the most part done well. It's not just a very like simple representation of a dream. The dream itself has its own world building, has its own lore, has its own characters, and I really do enjoy it. Uh, One thing that I do not enjoy it is that all of that goes away as soon as we are done with the Vice's mind. All the different climbs just disappear. The theme of Seven Dwarfs disappears. Crystal Coffin disappears. Bad Brother disappears. Shadow People disappear, right? So it also kind of feels hard to maybe not immerse yourself in it, but bring yourself to care particularly much because all of that is just gonna disappear. It's just gonna vanish. So like, don't grow to like Sleepy Klein or Grumpy Klein or the Door Klein or the idea of silly cages or singing Pyrrha or meowing Jean because those things will just disappear. But yeah, while we're here, while those things haven't disappeared quite yet, overall decent episode. Had a couple of what the fuck moments, very confusing because they said one thing, another thing happened, some things happened completely out of the ass. I don't know. It didn't like ruin this episode to me, but those were certainly things that I did notice and I did have to mention. Not the best episode so far. Probably not the worst either. A solid watch without anything to write home about. I think that's more or less my opinion about this episode. Anything else that needs to be said? Pyrrha's singing, Pyrrha's voice acting. I need to look it up real quick. RWBY Ice Queendom. Is she listed anywhere? Not Crunchyroll. No. My Anime List, for example. My Anime List. Nikos Pyrrha. Only Toyoguchi Megumi is listed as a voice actress for Pyrrha. And how about AniList? AniList characters. Pyrrha. Only Toyoguchi Megumi is listed. Yeah? Interesting. Interesting if it was actually her who sang the song, or did they use voice actress from the original RWBY, or did they use a completely separate voice actress? That's one thing that certainly stood out to me as happening completely out of nowhere, and yet being of decent enough quality. Good song with decent visuals, but ultimately kind of inconsequential. Kind of a song that you might have just played on top of a montage of Ruby, Yang, and Blake running around the city trying to find their way deeper, and you play that song with those scenes in the background intertwined with Weiss going about her day, Nega Weiss going about her day, or something, right? Pyrrha singing it didn't make much sense to me. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. It didn't make much sense. Yeah, I think that's all. That's genuinely all I had to say about this episode. I'm gonna be waiting for the next one to see where it's going, and if we're getting anywhere closer to closing the chapter on Vice's dream, or is it actually gonna continue for the whole season? We'll see. Right now, that's gonna be it from me. So it's your turn now to tell me down in the comments below what did you think of this episode, of my reaction, of my theories. No spoilers, please. Whether a show is good or bad or in the middle, I don't want any spoilers. I want to experience the goodness, the badness, and the mechness myself entirely. So please, no spoilers. If you want to talk spoilers, you can do that on my Discord. Link here, link in the description. Join it, join the RWBY channel. You can talk spoilers to your heart's content, because you can use spoiler tags actually, and not like on YouTube where you cannot use spoiler tags. Like this video if you liked it, disliked it if you disliked it, but tell me why so I can improve. Subscribe to the channel to be notified of future releases of not only RWBY, but also Overlord Season 4, Hataraku Mausama Season 2, Yofukashi no Uta Call of the Night, amazing show, highly recommend, Symphogear GX, and a mystery show that was revealed on today's video about the results of the poll, so might want to check out that video to know what awaits you in the future. Support the channel if you want monetarily on Patreon, link in the description, on Throne, also link in the description. On Patreon for $10 a month you get early access to non-seasonal shows. For $5 you get to vote in polls like the one that's just closed, and for just a single dollar you get access to a role on the Discord and to the credits. And as far as non-seasonal shows go, this time around it is Symphogear GX and the mystery show that was revealed today. So early access to those, $10 a month, yeah, 10. Throne, it's a new thing. You can pitch in towards me buying some specific stuff, like a new camera or a new light or something like that. You pick the thing you want me to buy and you throw $5 or $10 or $1 towards that, however much you want. It's a new thing, I'm just experimenting with it, so feel free to ignore it if you want. If you don't want to spend any money whatsoever, Patreon, Throne, or anything else, you can just not spend the money and still help the channel by sharing my content, spreading the word. The word of mouth really does matter a lot for the growth of a channel. Join the Discord, it's open, free to everybody. And right now, that's gonna be it from me for today. So as always, you guys do all the good stuff, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Cheers. And here's the credits I mentioned. You can be one of those people if only you so desire.